G'day guys, welcome back to Stat Chat Sports. You're with me, Josh, as well as BT and Tazza. We're doing our season previews for all the AFL teams in the lead up to the start of the AFL season. And today we're talking about the Freo Dockers, Taylor.
Freo Dockers. I personally am huge on the Dockers this year. And I know a few of us are also huge on the Dockers. That's why we've got them up in sixth. It's it feels like uncharted territory for the Dockers, doesn't it, BT?
Well, I think they're going to be the dominant side in WA for quite a while, to be honest with you. I think they've overtaken the Eagles. I hate saying that.
It pains me to hear that, BT. It's just a dagger in my heart.
Exactly. Oh. I feel the exact same way. It kind of makes me want to cry, to be honest with you.
Look, but coming from me, I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty happy there's a changing of the guard. I think it's long overdue that we've seen just a new king of town. I think the Eagles have just reigned for way too long for my liking.
Settle down.
all hail the new king of Perth, hey?
Oh goodness me! There's gonna be purple everywhere. Finals footy for Fremantle. Goodness me! I mean, it's hard to say it, but it's hard to ignore it. You know, they have got some of the best young talent in the competition, fellas. That midfield is absolutely stacked full of talent. I mean, how many top 10 picks have they had in the last 3 years? It'd be at least 5 or 6. I mean, they're just oozing talent, and I think this is the year that's really going to shine forth.
Yeah, well, I mean, and they've been losing guys as well, losing those picks. Lockie Weller was one, just straight off the top of my head. Who's doing a job over at the Gold Coast there? Probably did.
They got pick 2 for him. They got Brayshaw for him.
Yeah,
I mean, you take that every day of the week.
It's biggest steal ever.
Absolutely. Yeah, true. Yeah, I completely forgot what they got back for it. So there you go. It's probably a win, all things considered.
Well, Adam Chera's the next one, isn't it? You know, they've traded away Adam Chera, topped up with some picks this year, and those 3 top 10. Well, sorry, it's 2 top 10 picks, and then Matt Johnson as well was pick 21. But that is a core 3 of guys, WA locals. They're not going anywhere. Those boys are hanging around for the next 10 years, and they might have just got their key forward of the future that they've been looking for since Pavlich. Erasmus could start round 1 and feature prominently in that midfield rotation, and Matt Johnson was the slider that I couldn't believe the Eagles didn't take. I mean, he is pretty much ready-made to play round 1 as well. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, looking at guys who could get into that midfield straight away. Obviously, Erasmus, Johnson, they may need time to get in. There's probably a few other guys looking at that midfield spot, probably that last midfield spot, along with Fife, Brayshaw, and Sarong. Will Brodie and Darcy Tucker. What are your thoughts on those two? Do you see one of them breaking in hit the ground running round 1, or what's your opinion there, Josh?
I think Brodie's probably the man. He's 23 years old. He's come across from the Gold Coast, mature guy, ready to go straight away. I can see him featuring prominently, and he did get a lot of minutes in the preseason match against the Eagles this weekend just gone. The other guy who you did mention, Darcy Tucker, I think he's probably going to be on the fringe of the team, a bit more of a defensive midfielder, in my opinion. Probably going to be competing with a guy like Mitch Crowden for that spot in the team as well, who I think they rookie listed him, brought him back, doing some of that salary cap magic, but he's a guy that got a lot of centre bounce attendances in the preseason game that I was kind of surprised to see it. I don't think he's got a lot of polish, but he's got that defensive mindset where he's going to lock down on a guy, he's going to play good, hard, tough footy, he's going to tackle hard, he's going to be with him all day. So, you know, that could see him get some game time and get some minutes in that rotation as well, because you've got to have a defensive-minded midfielder as well. You can't just be all attacking and all Rolls-Royce. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree with you there on that. Talking about defence and being defensive-minded, Freo, harking back to the Ross Lyon days, have always been a pretty steady defensive team. Have built.
Well, settle down. I mean, they had Spud Dawson there for a while. I mean, you can't give him too many props.
But the record, they've probably been up until the last couple of years, they've been described probably as a dour team, a low scoring, just smother. It's not very attractive football until probably the last couple of years with Justin Longmuir at the helm. But on the defence, BT, what do you see as probably the best mix there? Because they've got quite a few guys that can fill the same role in Brennan Cox, Pearce, Logue. There's plenty of options down there.
Adding Joel Hamling as well.
Yep.
Premiership player right there at the Doggies. I like, obviously you got Pearce. He's going to be, I think, your lockdown fullback on your big Tomahawks type forward. But yeah, it's Brendan Cox, Griffin Logue, or Joel Hamling. Which two out of those three is what you go with? And I'm not a huge fan of Brendan Cox, but last season he did a job. He did okay.
Yeah.
He definitely improved. He's definitely more of a defender than he is a forward. He's an absolute spud up forward.
Park him back and just forget about him, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Let him do a simple job, stay on one player, and that's all you have to worry about. Joel Hamling, same type of player. Griffin Logue he's more of an intercept, but can play tall as well. But I think Griffin Logue's the one that misses out, to be honest with you, because I think you got your Luke Ryan, if Hayden Young stays back there, and Jordan Clark's going to be your running halfback wing type player. I think if Luke Ryan's the big one. If these other guys stay fit and he doesn't have to play a lockdown type role and he can just float across, take those intercept marks, he's going to be an absolute killer for these other teams. You're just not going to want to bomb it in there.
He was All-Australian in 2020, and if the Dockers have a good year and he plays well,
same thing.
He's a good chance of going back again.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree.
Yeah, I think the key for the Dockers there, is distribution out of there. And if Ryan is freed up, him and Young can really use a lethal boot to really set up going forward for them, which through that midfield, they really shouldn't have any problems. Moving to the forward line. Obviously, they've got the big bloke in Matt Tabner down there. What else? What are the other options down there? Because to me, I mean, does Walters play down there? Does he play up the ground? Josh, what do you see happening in the forward line?
It's been probably the black hole for Fremantle for the last 5 years. Tab the Crab really came on last year, All-Australian squad, and had a surprising year, I think. He really got the contested marking game going, which has been his strength for a number of years, but just started to get back on board with the goal kicking. So if he can get consistent with his goal kicking, he's going to be one of the good key forwards in the competition and push that squad again. The key for me is Rory Lobb. Does Rory Lobb get to play a full season? Does Rory Lobb be consistent as a number 2 option? Has not really had a breakout season with Fremantle in his 3 years there. And to be fair, he really only had one great season with the Giants. I think he kicked 29 goals and really shot to prominence as a good option up there. He really hasn't delivered on the investment for my money so far for Fremantle. They've been undecided about whether he's a ruckman, whether he's a forward, how much time do we play him in the ruck. They've just got to stick him in the forward line, make him the number 2, and say, look, go get the footy, go kick goals. That's what he's got to do. If he does that, Fremantle are going to go a long way towards not only making the finals, but making a run. And I think we all think that Fremantle are capable of making a run this year. If that doesn't work and Lobb isn't the guy or he gets injured, don't be surprised to see Jye Amiss play games this year and play early. I think he's ready-made. I think he could even play even with Lobb in the team as a third forward, not getting the attention of some of those other guys and really making a difference from day one. So Really look out for Jye Amiss. He's a great talent. And I could see him coming in, not to take this Eagles related, but when Jack Darling started his career, he had Josh Kennedy, Quinton Lynch in the team, and he was the number 3. And he had a really good rookie season of just getting that third defender and making an immediate impact. I think Jye Amiss has the potential to do that, particularly if Rory Lobb is soaking up a fair bit of attention in the forward line.
Where do you rotate Fife, Mundy? How often do they go through that forward line midfield mix?
Yeah, so before Freo sort of got that extra forward in the draft, I was thinking that Fife could spend a lot of time forward this year. I don't think they're going to do that as much. I think Fife is still going to play at least 70% midfield time. Good old Barramundi is probably the interesting one in terms of how much has he got left in the tank. And if you play him forward, can he do a role? I think he can. I think he's proven in the past that, he can be a good spot up, lead up forward. So he's probably the one that takes a lot more forward time. It's just whether he can have an impact while he's down there. That's probably the question. That's probably the question for me. So
you're going to say the core 3 will be Sarong, Brayshaw, Fife with Darcy in the ruck?
Yeah, I think so. Look, obviously Brodie's going to get a bit of time as well, running through the midfield there, and maybe Erasmus. But yeah, certainly that's your core 3. And I think Fife has to stay healthy and play good midfield minutes. I think that's the key.
Have you got any of those in mind for like an All-Australian? Who have you got for All-Australian from Fremantle? Because personally, there's a couple I could see. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
I've got lots of All-Australian chances. So starting from the back, I think Pearce, if he plays a full season, is a really good shout. His best footy is All-Australian calibre footy. So if he strings it together and stays in the park, he's there or thereabouts for mine. We mentioned Luke Ryan as well. He will be there. He will be there if Fremantle have a good year and he plays most of the games. Fife is obviously going to be a shout if Fremantle play well. Naturally, he gets a lot of the ball. He's front and centre in your mind when you think Fremantle. And I think Brayshaw as well is going to have a big year. He's going to step himself up to that next level of midfielder. If that happens, then certainly he's in the conversation for mine as well. And Darcy. Darcy is the ruck as well. If he strings those games together, has another season like he did last year, he's certainly going to be in the conversation.
Who have you got? How do you see Sarong going?
Yeah, Sarong as well. So I put him on my list of All-Australian chances, but I think that it's too deep of a midfield for, Sarong to be given a shot. Particularly, Brayshaw's a bit more of a classy ball winning and good foot skills. I think Sarong is probably a little bit more inside, and the All-Australian selectors don't tend to go for those inside midfielders as much. And the guys they do go for, your Paddy Cripps and your Olivers, are probably going to be ahead of Sarong in that department. So, but certainly Sarong, is in for a big year as well.
Another segment we like to go through is a breakout player. Who do you see having a big year for Fremantle?
Well, we've just mentioned a few, but a guy that I haven't mentioned is Hayden Young. And again, this goes back to staying on the park. If he can play the full season, this guy is a genuine weapon coming out of the back half. Top 10 draft pick 2 years ago, has only played 13 games in those 2 seasons, mostly purely due to injury. If he gets a good run at it, I know he did have a little bit of a delay to his pre-season, and I don't think he did play the scratch match last weekend, but if he comes in, starts round 1 and has a good fitness base, look out, because he uses the ball really well, and Fremantle's going to want to get the ball in his hands as much as possible. So Hayden Young, for mine, real breakout player for Fremantle this year.
His left foot is, the games he played last season, that left foot, he hits those targets up the centre of the ground. It's insane. He's very underrated.
It's a lethal left foot.
Oh, yeah.
Lethal.
He just needs to get a
And
better
those type of
haircut.
players can. He does. He does. Too many buns. Too many man buns down there at Freo. Just chop it off. Chop off the knot. Just sort it out.
On the opposite side of that, who do you see maybe leaving the club under the pump? Might get dropped. Might not even get a game. You got any players that come to mind?
So look, we spoke about Hayden Young just before. We haven't even touched on Jordan Clark coming across from the Cats this year. Both of those guys are going to be playing halfback. For me, that pushes out the veteran Nathan Wilson, 29 years old, only re-signed to a 1-year deal in the off-season. I mean, this is a guy that is heavily under the pump. He's going to lose his spot to the younger players. I don't think he's going to start round 1. Really inconsistent with his ball use, doesn't apply a lot of pressure to the ball carrier as a defender. You know, if he gets opportunities this year, he needs to make the most of them because he's on a 1-year deal for a reason. I don't think he's going to get another year if he doesn't show something this year. And he came across as a pretty big recruit, a pretty handy pickup from the Giants. Don't think he's really delivered in his time at Fremantle so far.
I don't even think if he doesn't even get a contract at Fremantle, I would not be surprised if they'll delist him and another club doesn't even pick him up. He's at that age now where he's just going to take up a spot on a list. You could pay him as a rookie and just, but to be honest with you, the last couple of seasons at GWS, he wasn't too bad. But since he's moved to Fremantle, he had maybe one good season. But other than that, it's been a bit of a spud, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I completely agree. So, look, Nathan Wilson, mine, needs a big year. Needs if he gets opportunities, he really has to make the most of them. I don't know how many opportunities he's going to get.
Nah, that's it. Have you got any like Brownlow smokies from Fremantle?
Well, I think 5 stays. I mean, are 5 stays really behind him? You know, I think Brayshaw is obviously up and coming as the next one, but you know, now you've got the situation where they're going to be taking votes off each other. You know, Fife didn't really have that as much when he did when he's 2 Brownlows. So, yeah, it's going to be tough, I think, for a Brownlow winner from Fremantle. But Brayshaw is the up and comer there. He's a real goer. He's a real polished performer, I think.
Well, me personally, I can see Fremantle losing no more than maybe 3 games at home, to be honest with you. And they could be
good call.
To your top teams, to like a Melbourne. I haven't fully looked at the whole fixtures, so I don't know who they play exactly at home. But like your Melbourne, your Bulldogs may beat them at home. I think they're going to pump the Eagles in both derbies, which I think will play in Brayshaw's hand. I can see him getting a fair few votes at home. If he can learn to break that tag, because last season he got tagged a fair bit. I know you know about that, Taylor, because you had him in your fantasy. He kills you. He kills you when he gets tagged. He struggles with that. If he can learn to break that, like these Tom Mitchell, Oliver type players, and they still find the ball, which I think he will. He clearly would have been working on that in the off season. And I think Fife will play 50-50, and knowing Fife will get injured. At least he's shaved off that stupid goatee thing he had on.
Oh,
so
goodness me.
That's at least 1 point in his favour.
It's one of the all-time terrible beard cuts, which is not obviously a bit ironic coming from us with some shocking facial hair going around here. But I mean, that was an all-time low there for Fifey.
He hit rock bottom right there.
Oh dear. Just going back to your comment as well about home games. So Fremantle are playing 4 top 4 contenders at home this year. They've got Brisbane, Sydney, Port Adelaide, and Melbourne all in home games.
They'll lose to Melbourne and Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide play pretty well here. I know you like that.
Love that goal. Thanks, BT. Appreciate that one.
But they'll beat the others. I can see him pushing the top 4 with GWS personally. I think they're a very quality side and having that home ground, the fortress, even though it's only, I think, 50% capacity at the start. They're going to be very, very hard to beat. Even those top teams, Melbourne come here, you Port Adelaide and whatnot. It's not going to be they're not going to get pumped. I can't see them getting pumped from these type of teams. Maybe if they play at the G, but they don't play too bad at G, to be honest with you, Fremantle. I can see them being a very good team, very hard to beat this season.
Final call from you, BT. We like to end our shows, our season previews, with a final call from you, and it's usually a bold call, usually a bit of nonsense as well. So have you got something for us?
I don't actually have too much, to be honest with you, because I'm actually, I hate to say it, being an Eagles supporter, my whole life, but if I wasn't an Eagles supporter, I'd be up and about like I am with North Melbourne, with Fremantle. But I just can't do it. I can't bring myself to do it. I can't buy a membership for Fremantle. But if you're not a member of any other team, or you're not a huge follower of AFL, I would be tuning into Fremantle this season. I think they're your underdog for out of all the clubs. I would not be surprised if they're up there.
Very good call, BT. If you're a Freo fan and you're watching this and you can't believe that there's some Eagles fans that are saying good things about your team, make sure you give us some love. This is big for us. This is a really tough segment for us to do here, but we're trying to be professional. We're trying to do it justice. So make sure you let us know in the comments. If you disagree with us, if you think that Fremantle is going to just stink it up again and just not really follow through on their promise, we want to hear from you as well. All about feedback here at Stat Chat Sports. So join the conversation. Make sure you subscribe so you're staying up to date for all the latest content that we're putting out in the lead up to the AFL season. Boys, it's been a good one. Nice work from you today, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.